question and answer. So if you have any questions, hopefully we'll provide some answer. But Brian's talk was unbelievable. Who agrees? Give me some hearts. Give me some likes. Let's get it moving here and get some excitement going on. All right. But I just want to thank everybody for joining us for the Passion Conference. Next year, we hope that it will be at the North American Martyrs Shrine. And we hope that we'll be able to do it live in person. But everybody did a great job today. And we're so thankful that all of you could be a part of this. But this is a chance to maybe ask questions about our journey, maybe questions about how to practically live your faith, maybe questions, personal questions that I'll only let Brian answer because, yeah. On a daily basis, as Brian said, with discipline. We thank you for the opportunity today. Any thoughts, Brian, from your end on the opportunity to do this today and what you hope that they'll receive and continue to live their faith?
Yeah, I mean, I think with today, I think the Lord has given us a moment to put a pause on things. So my hope today is that let people get direction, right? Encouragement, deeper conversion, man. And maybe if we could be the vehicle to help them to hear what the Lord is saying to them, then that's a W for today. So my hope is that people are encouraged. They know that they're not alone. And know that we're in this together, and to take advantage as best they can of this moment in time and learn to see God in the midst of this. So
sure. I'll ask you a question. What's one way that that helps you really grow in your faith, like on a daily basis? Like, what's one thing you do that somebody might not know about that helps you?
I think the study helps me out a lot. Like listening to good speakers, good teachers, listening to that helped me out a lot. The rosary has helped me out a lot over the past year. That's helped me out a lot. Doing a devotion with me and my wife just started doing a devotion together. That's been really awesome. And I've been saying the Jesus prayer. I have like one of those Russian prayer ropes. I ordered it, and my spiritual director said that on every rope, there's the traditional Jesus prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. He said on each rope, on each bead, say Jesus, Mary, Joseph, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, Jesus, Mary, Joseph. And he said that's like God holding your hand. So I do that throughout the day also. Things like that, those have been really fruitful for me, especially when, everything is kind of scattered in my life with the shift of things. Having those things that are consistent, they help me out a lot.
That's great. And just as a chance for the next 15, 20 minutes, if you have any questions that we can ask you to help you in your faith, and we will answer them. So one thing that helps me grow in my faith daily is the rosary. With my family in particular, I've been doing it for the past 10 years now, and that's just been a great gift for me. And the other thing that helps me is like waking up earlier than everybody else. Whatever time everybody else gets up, getting up an hour, hour and a half earlier than they do, that like strengthens me so much. And putting my time into getting into the Word, listening to God, and letting Him fill me. For me, those are the two things that help me. And you got to find out where your sweet spots are, and you got to stick to them. You got to find out like what is the Lord. Like right now we're in Romans, so that's a sweet spot. I'm getting in 1 Corinthians and really jumping in that now, and that's really helped me. You got to find a sweet spot that really will strengthen you. And at one time, my sweet spot was liturgy of the hours, so I would do that like crazy. And at one point, my sweet spot was memorizing Bible verses, which really helped me. Memorizing the Bible, that really helped.
I think it's like what you're saying is so key, because like that sweet spot, because I find that in my journey I go through moments, right? There's moments throughout my spiritual journey where I'm like heavy into charismatic things, right? And then there's moments where I'm heavy into monastic things, But finding that thing that, listen, all of us are called to prayer, right? That's kind of a given. So none of us are debating that. But finding the thing that feeds you and works for you, that I think that is key, because you'll maintain that and God will work in that to get you to the next spot. But if you try to do something that God may not be calling you to because you saw someone else do it, it's not guaranteed to be as fruitful for you as it is for that person. So I think finding that sweet spot is awesome.
Oh, we got seminary. Joe Kane's got a question for you. But I wanted you to answer it for the next time I bring you on EWTN Live. But, I'm going to have you answer it there too. But God help us if you answer this question.
I mean, I can answer it. I'll give the short version. So I was at Seton Hall, born and raised in DC, went to Seton Hall, met regular freshman, wasn't thinking about going and getting into church. I stopped going to mass. So I'm in my dorm, and me and my friend John, we were walking around the dorm as just freshmen. We turned this corner, and we have a friend. His name is Joe. He's a DJ, because in New Jersey at that time, everybody was a DJ. So he was a DJ, and we were going to his room, and we see Joe in the middle of the hallway wrestling like Justin. Now, Justin has a 50-pound weight vest on. Joe has nothing, just his regular.
If I beat him in wrestling, he had to go to church. If I beat him with the 50-pound weight.
Yeah. So we turn the corner, and we see Justin just giving Joe the work, and then I guess Joe tapped out, and Justin jumped up, and he hit me with a "What's up, brother?" I was like, wow, like just that energy. He says, and then I think we got into a conversation. He used to call himself the Italian Stallion back then. I'm Justin Fatica, the Italian Stallion, and he said,
I didn't even know what my real name was for like 5 years.
I didn't. I'm the Italian Stallion, and then he invited me to a prayer group. And I was like, man, at first it caught me off guard, but I just knew that, just his personality, that if I didn't say yes and get out the situation, it wasn't going to end. So first time I met Justin, wrestling one of my friends in a 50-pound weight vest, freshman year at Seton Hall. And then, after that, it was just adventure after adventure after adventure.
That was fun. And
yeah.
I remember the story I remember vividly is when you came to me, and I don't know if you remember this. You're like, man, I'm going to go fight. I'm ready to fight. You remember this?
Yeah. I remember that. I remember you're
like that Italian fraternity. Yeah. I'm kill him. Because I guess one of your like boys or something.
Yeah. They got beat up. And this was, hey, everyone who's watching, this was pre-conversion. So just make sure you know that. Okay. So I was about to go get in a fight with a couple of my friends.
What happened?
Yeah, I was going. So a couple of my friends went to a party. They got into a fight. They got beat up. So the next day, I was going to go with some of my other friends and get into a fight with the people that had fought my friends. So I'm walking, I have like a little do-rag on because of quote unquote tough guy thug. So I had that on, and I see Justin in the hallway, and Justin's like, "What are you doing?" I guess he saw some intensity on my face, and I told him the story that I'm going to go fight. I'm going to go get in a fight with this fraternity, right? And Justin just he hit me with the realness, Justin, he didn't really like. There was no, oh, I get it. He was like, if you do this, then you're less of a man. Is that the man that you want to be? It was enough to make me think about my decision and have me do that slow walk to, and I didn't get into any trouble, but that was,
anyways, you're like the nicest guy ever.
I am the nicest guy. I would have been that guy that would have just ran into the fray, fell down, and be like, "Hey, man, did you see how I just jumped on that guy?" I wouldn't have really. I don't think I would have done anything, but it was just like,
I loved like back then, like we were at third floor south.
Yep.
And all those guys were just the real, man. Every one of them was so much fun.
That was a motley crew.
He couldn't believe that Catholics could be alive for Jesus.
No, I think
like a 1-2 every time I got excited about Jesus and you.
I remember I was in my room and Justin was, and I had two of my friends with me, and they were just ragging on the Catholic Church, just going in on the Catholic Church. And I had no defense. I didn't know what to say. They were ragging on the Eucharist, ragging on any, just making fun of it. And Justin walks by eating popcorn, walking by. And he's like, "What's going on in here?" And then they start talking about stuff to Justin. They didn't know what they were going to get themselves into. They say something about the Eucharist, and then Justin just goes into this theology of it. And then I was sitting there listening to it. I was like, "Oh yeah, what he said, what he said."
And now you're the theologian, and I'm just the
I dabble a little bit, but you
got more degrees than a thermometer, I heard.
No, it don't really matter.
That one, by the way, that's pretty good. I like that. That was powerful.
Yeah,
that was powerful. I'm gonna steal that one.
Take it.
But where did the name Hard as Nails come from? You want to answer that?
No, I know what you do. I'll just co-sign what you say.
Well, the name Hard as Nails, like, you see, most ministries, like their names, they want to fit to reach the Catholics. Like from the beginning, the name Hard as Nails was meant to reach the world. Like, so if you're a Catholic and you say, "I'm a part of Hard as Nails," you feel kind of rejected. Like, "Oh, I can't say that. Like, what does that mean? What's this?" But if you're from the world and you say, "Yeah, I work with this group Hard as Nails. It's a Catholic group," all of a sudden, like, you can handle that. So it really connected with the world. But where it really comes from are two things. Romans 5:8, "But God proved his love for us, that while we were still sinners, he sent Christ to die for us." And the hardest thing to do is to forgive. The hardest thing to do in life is to be virtuous. And so Hard as Nails came from, like, what's the hardest thing to do? And the hardest thing to do is to be perfect and die for sinners like Jesus did. And Jesus is truly Hard as Nails. And the second way that Hard as Nails come from is we have one of the hardest jobs on the planet. Our vision is to create a world where no one suffers alone. And you want to talk about a hard job? The only way you can surrender to that is to be Hard as Nails, because suffering is the hardest thing to look at. And as the ministry has grown, that's what we were really, really called to do. And our preachers, our missionaries are formed and trained not to reach Catholics, but to reach the world, to bring them to the Catholic faith. Any thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, I was just thinking like that first, it was like the first Hard as Nails t-shirt. When we think about Hard as Nails, that's what comes to me the most, of that first Hard as Nails t-shirt. And it was when we were in New Jersey, and you could see kind of the influence. It was a cross with a nail in it and boxing gloves hung up on the cross. And I remember we were talking about it, about what it meant. And it meant that, I used to fight for myself, but I've hung up my boxing gloves. And now I fight for the Lord. I fight for Christ. And to really be Hard as Nails is to understand that you're nothing. That at the end of the day, that all of your strength, all that you do comes from God. That's what really makes you Hard as Nails. So, I think that's the thing. We talk about the spirit of the ministry. I think that's like at the spirit of the ministry. I don't fight for myself and for my ego. Oh yeah, that was it. That was it.
The hard knock life for Christ.
Yeah, the hard knock life for Christ.
2003, baby, special.
2003, and all of you 2000 people, you would know all about that. A hard knock life for Christ. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody on right now even was around when this T-shirt was there.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what it is. Like, I don't fight for myself anymore. And there's no point in that. There's at the end, when it's all been said and done, there's a meeting that's already been scheduled for us. None of us are going to be late for it. And it's for everybody. And it's that meeting with God. It's that meeting with death. And at the end, am I going to just like boast about being strong for myself, having this bravado, this false masculinity, or would I prefer to be strong for God? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? So that's it.
And Hard as Nails, like what we really hope is that when you say that name, it hurts. Because our faith was purchased at a price. Mm. And when you say, "I'm Hard as Nails," it hurts. It's like, even to get it out sometimes, I don't know if you feel like that, B, but you go, "I'm hard as," oh man. Mm-hmm. And I like that because what it does is it reminds you of the cross.
Yeah.
You're purchased at a price.
Yeah.
And you know what? Our journey, I mean, I don't know how you feel or what you think, but the journey to like live this faith, like it has been a price. Though my sacrifices are like this big compared to Jesus, though my sacrifices compared to people who, like you said so beautifully, who are listening right now are nothing, to us, we feel like, holy cow, how do I keep doing this? I'm so weak.
Yeah. I think that's, I think that there's a lot of people that think that the Christian life is just living in the resurrection all the time. And I don't think that people relate to that. I think I read this book and it said that when you boast about your triumphs, it creates competition. When you share your weaknesses, it cultivates community. It creates community. I think most people understand the suffering, but I think when we have a faith that just says you live in the resurrection 24 hours a day, I don't think people relate to that. People relate to the struggle, you know, and people relate to people who are joyful in the midst of the struggle. You know what I mean? Who don't let the struggle take them down, who don't let the struggle take them to another place, but find joy in the struggle because they understand that Christ is in the midst of that struggle. So I think with Hard as Nails, it doesn't run away from the pain, but it doesn't make you the sum of your pain, It says that you've gone through stuff before, but those things build you up. Those things are opportunities to see Christ, and those things are opportunities for you to bring Christ to other people. So,
for sure. This guy says, as a youth group leader, I see so many young adults just going through the motions. How would you suggest lighting a fire and lukewarm to cold youth? What do you think will help them light up a fire?
I think the first thing is seeing it in you. You know, if they see your fire, is going to, I mean, you can say a lot of things to them, but they see your fire, it will inspire them. I think challenging them. I work with all guys because I teach at an all guys school. When I can say stuff to them and it may get them on one level, but when I challenge them, when I place a challenge in front of them, that gets them to respond. I think challenging them to be more. And I think there's something about that small group one-on-one discipleship that helps out a lot. When I was getting into the faith, I think the one thing that kept me strong, especially in the beginning of the faith, because I had one voice of the prayer group that I was in, 12 apostles, but I had the other voice of my friends trying to pull me in another direction. And there were a lot of them, and my campus was filled with a lot more people that weren't really intentionally living for Christ than my prayer group friends. But I remember just those trips that me and Justin would take to the Christian store, and the conversations we would have, or the trips that we would take and the conversations we would have to like a soul fest or a retreat or stuff like that. Just that one-on-one thing, being able to talk candidly with someone and share my struggle and share my obstacles and hear from them, not from a place of preaching, but from a place of experience. Not letting me be who I wanted to be, but calling me to be more. I think that one-on-one discipleship, or that small group discipleship, I think that is key. And then once you get them on fire, then they help you getting other people on fire.
For sure. It's what it's always been since the beginning. You need to start with 3. That was like you and Mary and me, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go to the 12. That's like the group that you pray with. And then you have the 72. That's like when you have like a retreat or a big event or something people could get involved with. Yeah. And then you need the multitudes. That's like once a year you go to like a Steubenville, you go to a soul fest or an experience. And I think what youth group leaders, people involved with youth group, they want to just focus on the once a year thing, and that's all they do. You might as well not go. You know what I mean? Like the thing to focus on, more importantly, is to say, Lord, who are those 2 young people that God's given me? Yeah. Who are Peter, James, and John? You know what I mean? Who are those people? And to put like everything into them, and to have experiences, real life experiences with them. Get into their homes. Take your family, Jeff, into their home with their family. Go into their everyday life. Go into their everyday moments. And then when those three with you will then grab a hold of the 7 to 10 more, and then they can start doing that with them, because that's what you started to do by your like junior, senior year. You were doing that with Mike Rose. You were doing that with you know, Jenny, you were doing that with some of the young, Elliot Guerra, right? Where you like invested in him like crazy. Yeah.
Well, I was just saying, we look at salvation history, it's always worked like that. Small groups to influence the larger groups. You know, and just to encourage Jeffrey, you know, someone gave me an analogy of people that do ministry, especially people that are youth group leaders. It's like you got to have the mentality of a bus driver. You know, some people are going to get on, some people are going to get off. You still got to drive the bus. You know what I mean? So don't get discouraged by that stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, you still got to go. I mean, and it's just it's the ones that are intentional. You know, you want to make them in like that book, Forming Intentional Disciples. You want to make them intentional, and that involves, you know, that one-on-one pouring into them.
And the other thing is, if you do need Jeffrey formation, we have like on Zoom now, we could have our missionaries give formation for some of your young people if you needed help. So you can reach out to our office, and you know that's a way that you could get to it. If you don't have the time, our missionaries can do some formation on some Zoom calls. The other thing is, Jeffrey, get one of your young people or two of your young people to be missionaries in Syracuse for a year or two. You need to be formed by people. So then when they come back, then you're like, by the time they get back, you're like, oh, that's a year or two from now. No, but let me tell you something. Then you're going to have someone dedicated to you who can really, and that's what I've seen with missionaries that go back and serve their communities. Now they have these dedicated members of the church community that aren't going to wimp out. They're going to sacrifice and serve.
Mm-hmm. I would say be bold in what you say, because I've learned with teenagers, when you try to speak around something, they don't get it. You know, we get it, but they don't really get it when we try to speak around it. Speak plainly. And I would say, for Jeffrey, make sure that you're taking care of yourself also. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we spend so much time trying to feed other people that we're not being fed. You know, so make sure that you're finding things that are feeding you, because you know if you're trying to give from like a wellspring. Now, some of us, we're at like the bottom of the bell trying to scrape and get some water to feed other people. Make sure that you're staying full too, because if you're exhausted, it's going to be real difficult to give when you have nothing. So, sure.
All right, Pete, go for it.
Oh, Brian, what helps separate your feelings and emotions from truth? You know, see, like feelings and emotions, like I think there's an element of truth with feelings and emotions. I think the Lord can speak through your feelings. The Lord can speak through your emotions, you know, because I think that's what God has given us to let us know when we're in good situations and when we're in bad situations. I think sometimes the difficulty with feelings and emotions is that they can lead you down another path. You know, they can lead you away from God, and they can be kind of your compass for things. I'm just going to go with this. The two emotions that I've learned to really focus in on and we call them consolation and desolation. You know, you want to focus on the emotions and the feelings that are bringing you closer to God, that make you feel like you're growing closer to God, where you want to do godly things, where you want to spend time with God, where you're not full of shame, you're not full of blame. Those type of emotions are emotions that you want to focus in on. Any other emotions or any other actions based off emotions that lead you away from God, that lead you that give you a spirit of hiding yourself, you want to be leery of those. Because I don't think there's truth in that. When you're living in truth, there's no reason to hide. Even the scriptures say, bring the light what was done in the darkness, right? Bring that to light. So I think when your feelings and your emotions are guiding you to things that are connected with holiness, that are connected with godliness, that are connected with joy, fulfillment, not necessarily happiness all the time, not necessarily pleasure, but joy and fulfillment, you want to key in on those emotions. You want to key in on those feelings, because that's going to be things that are leading you to truth. Anything that's making you feel ashamed or making you feel rejected or pushing you away from God, you want to be leery of those. It's not to say, I know this, that God will not speak in condemnation. So those emotions, God doesn't speak in condemnation. God will challenge you. He'll say, he'll challenge you more, but there is no condemnation. difference. God will say you're better than this as opposed to you're nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's condemnation versus, being pulled to more. So for me, what helps separate my feelings and emotions from truth is I have good people around me. I read, I pray, but also I have good people around me that love me enough to offend me. That love me. I remember one time I asked Justin, this was when I was discerning marriage. And I went to a lot of friends and they said, we understand the struggle that you're having about being a friar or getting married. We understand that. And they weren't really helping me find a remedy to the situation. Then I went to Justin and I was expecting more of the same. Like, he was going to say, I understand, your emotions. I understand your feelings. Justin said, be a man, make a decision. He said, either tell the girl to leave you alone or tell the friars to leave you alone. I mean, people that love you enough, not because he knew what I was going through. And there was no point in placating me and telling me something that was going to feel good, but it wasn't going to be fruitful for me or anybody. So you got to have good community around you that will help you see through, the emotions that may be misguiding you. That was like a long-winded, that was a long way to a pretty simple answer. Have good people around you.
Good work, B.
I'm trying.
You're not trying. You're doing it. Trying's for cowards. You're doing it. You're doing it. What Bible verse would you suggest for times of struggles? Right now, people have been all over Psalm 91. I don't know if you noticed that. It's like everybody's all into that right now. Psalm 91 is something just to read. Who dwell in the shelter of the Most High, who abide in the shade of the Almighty, say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. You can't read the Bible like you're reading like a breakfast menu. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta read. When you read the Bible, you gotta read it, and that's what God's saying. He's saying he will rescue from the fowler's snare, from the destroying plague. He will shelter you with his pinions, and under his wings you may take refuge. His faithfulness is a protecting shield. He shall not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that roams in the darkness, nor the plague like the coronavirus that ravages at noon. Though 1,000 fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, near you it shall not come. I think that's just, it just keeps going and going. Basically saying, in a nutshell, God's got our back, And then also, if God is for us, who can be against us? But what Bible verse do you go for?
Matthew 28:20. I think that's the one. I will be with you always, even to the end of the age. Matthew 28:20. There's this thing about Tony Dungy, and Tony Dungy had this quote. He said, "God is in everything, even the ugly things."
Oh, I love that quote. We had that video we used to use. Remember?
Yeah. I like that. But I think Matthew 28:20. I will be with you always, even to the end of the age. So, it's one of those things. If God is in the situation, I say this all the time. If God is in the situation, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that was after his son ended his life.
Son ended his life. Yeah. So, I think Matthew 28:20. I will be with you always, even to the end of the age. He didn't say I will be with you when it's good. He didn't say I will be with you when you feel good. He said I'll be with you always, even to the end of the age. So that's what I'll go with.
Any other questions here?
We may have thrown out so much wisdom that
we're done for the day.
I think we made it. Yeah.
We'll do one more. This is a good one. You go for this one.
What? I don't know. I'm going to say this, man. I'll be honest with you. I'm not perfect with it, but I think there's a problem with people want like hacks to like 5 steps to do stuff. I think that stuff is just a struggle. Like there may not be any. I cannot tell you one thing. Like if you're looking for one thing to overcome spiritual laziness, I don't know what that is. Because if I did, I would overcome it myself. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's just one, embracing suffering. Like you're going to have to struggle. That's just what it is. and that's not an indictment on who you are. That's not saying that something's wrong with you. That's just saying that you're persevering. We sacrifice for the things that we value. So I guess that goes with the second one. When your love for a thing is more powerful than the obstacle that you're facing, then you'll do it, then you'll do it. So I think, practical ways to overcome spiritual laziness. I think do the difficult things. Do the difficult things. Make the sacrifices. I think it goes back to what I was saying. Discern what God is calling you to do. If you know that this is what God is calling you to do, then you make the decision to do it. And then, you have patience with yourself, because it's not going to be perfect all the time, because discouragement is one way that the devil uses to get us to not do what God wants us to do. You make a mistake, you get back up and you keep going. I think perseverance, keep going and doing the things that you're called to do. That's all I have, because that's what's worked with me. I don't know like a easier way to do it.
Well, I think the hardest way, but the best way, is people like to jump around in their Catholic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, all right, I'm going to be tight with these people. Once they figure me out, then I'm going to jump into these relationships. Then once they figure out I'm an a-hole, then I'm going to jump in these relationships. Then once they figure out, you need consistent people in your life forever. You need to say, Lord, bring those people that can hold me accountable for a reason, a season, and Lord willing, hopefully a lifetime. Accountability is the key. If you know someone's watching you, trust me, you know how many times I'm like, oh man, I can't do that. I got to be an example for the missionaries. I can't do that. I got to be an example for my kids. It's the accountability of the people who are consistently around me that keep me one day at a time living the gospel. And I think in our church, we don't have enough people holding each other accountable. And that's something that is so important.
Yeah. I think one thing that's difficult with that question is there's so many things that you could be saying about spiritual laziness. If you can be talking about, I'm not saying 5 rosaries a day and I want to, or I'm not going to mass on Sunday. Both of those, depending on who you're talking to.
I got a friend that says 5 rosaries.
Who we say?
I got a friend that says 5 rosaries.
But I'm saying like there could be a guy saying 2 rosaries and saying I want to say 5 and I'm spiritually lazy. And in that situation, I would approach that much differently than the guy that says I can't wake up for 10 a.m. mass on Sunday. You know what I mean? But I think what you're saying, the community is going to be key. Community is going to push you forward, man. Even if they don't say anything to you, just the example that they set for you will make you go further.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody again. You can join us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can join the ministry. Join Brian at Mission 116 or myself, Justin at Justin Fatica or You're Amazing HN. Follow us and be a part of our lives. We have daily Bible verses, weekly Facebook lives, daily prayer times with the missionaries. And I'm just thankful, Brian. We've been working together more in the past month. It's kind of like old times, man. This has been fun.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It's been good.
It's been good, and it just reflects what God has calling for this ministry. Keep up the good work, and may God bless you guys and Our Lady protect you. And do me a favor. Do me a favor. Reach out to somebody today. Don't just isolate. Take all Brian. I know he gave you some great wisdom, wisdom beyond belief. Take that wisdom beyond belief. Reach out to somebody and share what you learned today and spread the good news. And all the missionaries that were on here, people like Courtney, Leah Hunt, all the missionaries that were on here, all the prayer partners. We have so many ways you can get involved with our mission. And we have a new website. Brian, you know this. We have a new website coming out. We're working very, very hard on it. And there's all kinds of ways you can get involved. So get involved with our ministry at rememberyouramazing.com. God bless you all. Thank you.
Let me say one thing. Hey, Aaron, I just want to say hi to Aaron because she's been supporting the whole time. So just, hey, Aaron.
All right, Aaron. Keep it up. Keep it up. Carla, thank you. And Leah Hunt, you're the best. God bless you all.
All right.